Game number 2. It is just 5 matches that will be played out today. No 6 matches like we're used to in Grand Finals format. So there's only a certain amount of opportunities to take home that VR and that qualification to the Grand Finals. Today also being the last day to do that, as tomorrow it's all about consistency, the deal and reason. In Sandy Steps, according to the drop map, there should be technically 3 duos dropping here, except for one of them. Yeah, you can see Kurama is a little north of Sandy. So not directly fighting right off the spawn, just like Malibuka and Murstache is up against Noah and Aqua. Who's taking it home this time around, Jacob? What's your predict?
Right now, I gotta go ahead and I'll say Malibuka Murstache yet again. The floor back to the top, though, is gonna go to Aqua and Noah, so they have a little bit of advantage here early on in the gates, but I still think with the familiarity that Malibuka and Murstache have in and around this POI, they've landed here just a little bit longer and for just more times. I gotta think they have the best chances, but already they're pulling the NPC up the zip line. They don't even want to fight them for it. They just want to take it right away, and that way they have the upper hand throughout this entire exchange.
Malibuka knows this, though. They land here just as much as them. Unfortunately, Malibuka was just a millisecond late. And I believe, was that Aqua that connected that shot onto Malibuka's toes, basically? It might have been the NPC, but Malibuka now has been cracked. Murstache is going to be the only one with shield of the duo. But just like Noah Rayleigh, also does not have any shield.
For now. Just for now. You can see them passing on over the medallion like a hot potato, making sure that they're both healed up as much as possible. We talked about the importance of the cactus and replenishing and saving the shield so that way you can use them later. Kind of the same premise here with this medallion.
A lot more of a slower engagement this time around. Game 1, this fight ended quite quickly. But I'm not even sure if this fight is going to end. I mean, depending on how much time they take, they have to make the decision to just push each other or even just disengage and potentially find another team or continue with a separate loot path. But that's not really going to set yourself up for success in the late game. So we'll see how this one does end up playing out. But in the meantime, Gunbri and his duo partner, Emil, are they in a 2 versus 1 or is this a 2v2? I think it is a 2v2 actually, and Emil's gonna have to be careful here as he's been knocked down.
Yeah, I think it started off as they isolated one player of the duo, but everything turned sideways very, very quickly. T-Chips almost made something happen there, showing up just a little bit late, but unfortunately, that tardiness kind of led to a 2v1, even with Emil going down, another team rolling in, so you're not gonna be able to breathe here in that moment. As quickly Kolb and Over take him down. And now they get 2 teams worth of loot here.
Gunbri played it so well too, annihilating both players, but you got to be aware of your surroundings. That's part of it. The homework you put in to know what duos are dropping around you and if there's that potential for a third party. And just like the duos that capitalize on that situation, if you see in the Elim feed that some of the duos dropping by you are fighting, then it's a good chance to kind of head on over there and stop your loot path to see if you can pick up a nice third party. Clips and Dexy looking quite scuffed, to be fair. I wonder what happened to their drop spot.
Yeah, especially since I thought it was uncontested towards the north, but they probably, like everybody else, are just trying to rotate as far south as fast as possible. Especially if the zone does pull there. But already you can kind of see the first zone a little bit telling, showing how much time they actually have. Dexy and Eclipse still wandering around because there's a lot of loot in and around the underworld. There's a lot of chests just kind of scattered around, floor spawns. There's a lot of shields. There's a lot of stuff that you can take advantage of. And I think that's exactly what they're doing, planning to get their surge just a little bit later in their game.
Speaking about surge, the day 1 average for 6th zone was 470 damage. And the previous match today, it was 649 damage that you needed. So almost 200 more damage. Seems like these duos have either been adapting to kind of the cactus surge meta, or it might have also been because the zone did pull south, meaning that a lot more players could capitalize on those cactuses versus if it pulls up north, it makes it a bit more difficult. So that could be why. You can just see how much effect they have on the lobbies, not only based on where the zone is, but we'll look at Chini Tap now, or Chini Tap, Chapatini.
I'm like, yes, it wasn't only me that mixed it up. But okay, we got one over on Takata. But this is their same game plan. They land Nitrodrome. They maybe fight somebody if they get contested. Some shots along the way, but they beeline it straight on over here towards the forecast tower. I was talking about it yesterday. This one specifically on the map has an 80% spawn rate. So more often than not, if you play all 5 games out, it will spawn in 4 of the 5 games. So it kind of makes it a huge focal part of the game plan. As soon as they rotate here, they grab this mountain where there is the launch pad on top, and this is how they simultaneously get their surge for any of the duos wandering around, but this is also how they rotate out after they get the forecast tower.
The issue is they kind of always repeat the same strategy every single game, so you can imagine their opponents kind of are used to it at this point. So while they're rotating, they're going to know that Chapantini are on that mountain looking for tags, and they're going to be trying to cover themselves as much as possible. Yanis Pixie here now. Looks like Malabuka Merstash, as we were talking about earlier, decided to not continue their fight with Aqua Noah, but instead kind of look around in the surrounding area, see what else they can find, and they found another duo that looks like, I don't know if it was Pixie or his duo partner who they took out, but with one elimination, Pixie's still up. So Merstash Malabuka now kind of recuperating a bit of what they've lost from the early game.
Which isn't a bad position for Pixie because you look, they're literally right by their drop spot. So they know what loot they left behind. They also know if the zone pulls towards the north again, they can go back to this location, gather what they want here. So it's not necessarily the worst position for Pixie and eventually Yanis to be in on that side of the map. You see where everybody getting stacked up at. This is where a lot of those shots trade off, each and every one of the surge towers. You can't be scared to try to trade off these surge, especially if you have one of those cactuses right beneath you. If you're not taking these opportunities, you're going to consistently start to fall below that storm surge threshold. Even with Cammy taking a shot, he's really not scared, not really backing down from this opportunity.
Yeah, like you said, you can play a bit. That is true. The good news is, like you said, you can play overly aggressive and not really get penalized as much with those cactuses. So I'm curious to see how Cammy said he's going to do today being uncontested. All the games that were won yesterday were by duos that were uncontested, but funny enough, the first game today was won by a duo that was contested, so maybe that's good news for Merstash and Malabuka. Only time will tell as Tarps and his duo partner might be put into a little sandwich here.
Yeah, this is a tough one. Vico and Flixie are one of the ones literally right nearby. Luckily for them, they're not going to follow up on that damage. They probably see that they're missing a huge chunk of HP. They can backtrack, especially if they do have some gold to use in that mending machine that is in Reckless Railway. So not necessarily the worst spot to be in for these guys as well, especially if they did have that early game surge. So they can go ahead and play a little bit more lackadaisy, flexible in their game plan, wait for a couple more of these zones to close in before they really start to pinpoint their spot.
Kurama. Werix now up against, it seems to be Chapantini. I'm not sure if they want to fully commit to this though. Maybe it's some pop shots back and forth, but kind of being stuck in the mud here is going to make it difficult to disengage if that's what Kurama wants to end up doing here.
They got to be careful because even if they do disengage, there's another team waiting on the outside. Once you pop out those builds, if you peek out towards the west, that's when you're going to gain just a little bit more focus. And I think that's exactly what they've done. They're starting to focus on the other side. Bunker is now opening up, and you see the big focal point that everybody's fighting for. And with early damage, they heard the shields get cracked, but the same thing happening to Teeny. He just runs into a tough spot, 69 HP. Chap has just dropped even lower. They need to figure out a way to survive because now the third party has been turned into worse with one of them disengaging. Werix might go down, but for Kurama, he has a chance to get the reboot card if it comes down to it.
So it's almost free pickings for the third party though with the amount of HP that both duos have been dropped down to. Luckily enough for Chapantini, the disengagement is going to allow them to heal up, but also secure this bunker, which is going to be huge. I'm not sure. Did you see if the forecast tower spawned this match?
No, I did. They do have the forecast tower, and I did see yesterday, after yesterday's games, I think it was Teeny. He said, yo, we're still claiming our spot, and we're W keying the bunker. He's a man of his word already, because he's already keyed it, and he's won it so far, even without the eliminations. That's a good amount of loot to be won, as F9 takes down Finn. over towards Grim Gates. A lot of other teams rotating in this direction as the solo trying to get out. It does look like another team is chasing him, trying to go ahead and take advantage of the fight that was started by a whole nother team. And it does look like they solidify that Elim.
Oh, Kentic.
It's just unfortunate.
Gonna go down. Yeah, unlucky. Malabuka, Elim onto Pixie. So it looks like Pixie was the solo that got away from them eventually. Didn't last too long, though, as he's been hunted down. Let's see how For9 got this elimination, though. Ooh. Little drop down, quick shot.
Nice low Elim, really catching him off guard. That's where it's going to end for just a quick moment. Vidil and Reason, you kind of see them peeking up. Very, very similar rotation. There is a launch pad nearby that they can use to rotate, but it does look like they're kind of in the center of zone. No real reason to rotate. They can try to gatekeep it out if any teams are trying to use it as well. So as long as they're not really forced into any altercations due to Storm Surge, I really do like the position they're at. You kind of see the other side of that coin with Fraz, Stroky, and Robon, to where they're kind of forced to move down here, nor the Cactus. They are already taking some shots, so they are weak with an earlier fight, or at least trading shots from Surge, so they need to kind of stagger themselves just a little bit to make sure they get that shields up before they rotate out, if they rotate out.
Now this is a Surge base, Jacob. Look, we've seen the 2022 Surge bases. This is 2024. This is an up-to-date, cutting-edge Surge base, Cactus included, by the Nitro drone.
Do you know why, though? Do you know why we had to upgrade for 2024? It's because of the crash pads. In case you guys are wondering at home why the crash pad or the Surge bases have evolved for so much, first you could thank Trulex and Chicho. They're the ones who kind of started it. And then from there, with the crash pads, people were tired of getting crash padded on with the Flowberry Fizz, so now you need a roof in your Surge base. You needed at least 2-bedroom apartment Surge base at the top now. That's why they extended so high. It's at least 2,000 V-Bucks per game to rent that.
I was looking on socials, though. All it takes is a couple cannonball shots from the new POI, and that Surge base can come crashing down. Haven't seen that happen yet, though. Cammy and Seti. Look, I'd like to see this duo take home a match. 5 out of the 6 games in the upper bracket have been won by returning duos. We know Cammy and Seti, obviously a returning duo, have been competing together. I'm trying to think who's competed together longer than Cammy and Seti. Ooh, nice little 58 shot. So if any duo has chemistry, it's going to be them.
That's actually a good question. And anybody in the chat knows of any EU duo that's been together longer than Seti and Cammy? I'm going to be looking at the chat so we can figure out if anybody knows their stuff. And you can see there's a lot of space at this portion of the map that is kind of filled out because everybody has their Surge towers. Nobody's really boxed together other than that northeast side of the map, but they're just trying to rotate. You see them kind of boosting through. You know they have the power of the Nitro. And so here at this stage of the game, nobody really wants to make those big moves, those big risks, unless they have to, which is going to happen in that next zone when Storage Surge inevitably comes on.
Most scarce resource in Fortnite, always been metal. I remember when I was competing, always had kind of like on our rotates and our mid-game rotate strategies, we'd have kind of the locations where you could farm up that metal quickly. This is always so difficult to find. And you don't want to waste a lot of time kind of pickaxing things that give you 1 or 2 metal. You want to find things that give you more 4 or 5, even 6 metal to pickaxe. 155 above. Good news is they are on the River of Styx, so if they dip their toes into that water, they will get 3 dashes that they can use. Taking a look at Noah and Aqua, though. They were up against Malabuka and Murstache in the early game. Both duos decided to disengage and take their own battles. Noah, Aqua, no eliminations, but they have done enough damage.
Yeah, them being able to get that medallion out of Redline Rig, I think has bolstered their game plan overall. They can combine that with the cactuses to make sure to stay above that Storm Surge threshold. And we saw where Rift Island was. It was kind of on the northeast part of where the zone's at, so we know a good chance that the zone is going to pull over here towards Sandy Steps, or at least continue to move towards the south. But Vidil's already down. Reason now stuck by himself, and they're in the center of the zone, so getting a reboot is going to be tough if he does at least try to make it happen. He has to hope that the zone pulls all the way towards the north, so everybody on the south side of the map leaves this area.
Reason Vidil currently in 2nd place, not including the Game 1 winners in terms of the leaderboard, just 8 points behind Yanis and Pixie. So with having Vidil gone down so early. Could be detrimental to Reason, but you know, Levin talked about it. If any duo is going to be able to make a comeback and get a shambles, Reason and Vidil have good odds of doing so. Issue is, I don't think Reason is going to have enough time to bring Vidil back in. He might have to just play it out as a solo at this point in the match. 14 builds as well, no shields. Maybe I'm a little too hopeful, but anything can happen.
And the zone gave him a chance. The zone gave him a chance. He's right on the edge. Everybody's going to have to move towards the west if they want to get that safe spot. And it is relatively early on in the game. Maybe 1-2 ticks from the zone, 3 med kits. So I would actually be more surprised if we don't see Vidil back in this game. As Queasy would jump on board, Thomas already gone. Another stressful situation for him to be in. 22 HP and continuously dropping now that they're fighting deep into the zone. He does have the med kits, but no time to pop them. The dashes go in. Win. Go ahead and takes him out. He wins that battle, but I'm not sure he's won the whole thing just yet. Still 21 below the damage threshold. Queasy was already weak, so he didn't really get much damage counted towards the Storm Surge due to that elimination.
Crazy gonna be going straight to socials after that one. I would as well. We'll see what For9 and Della are gonna be able to do though. 1 Elam on the board already. It looks like they want to get a bit aggressive. There are some players close by.
89 above. Remember, they started off with elimination today, which wasn't a lot for Surge. Trading gets overzealous. Reason's going to take one down. A chance for him to fight back. They're trying to drop him into the box, and Della's going to take him down. And that's a good amount of loot. That was just one. But he's just getting tagged. We saw this location yesterday. There's so many half-broken built walls that you can't build to protect yourself. So it's hard to try to survive, but it's good to see that they do have a second chance with the revive now secured.
Just 2 HP. That was a close one. But they got the job done. That's what matters. 68 players up now. We can hear that little sound. That's the Storm Surge sound, meaning that these players are going to have to get aggressive. They haven't done enough damage. It's 6 zone. Day 1 average was 470 damage needed. Game 1 today, the last match, you needed 649 damage dealt during this zone. So
it's a full Elam.
That's a couple Elams. That's a couple. Well, that's a few Elams there.
That's a full 200 HP Elam. But yeah, no, the way this game has been going, we saw a guy with 7 Elams in the game yesterday, 51 below the damage threshold. You know, the opportunity to get that full amount of damage, especially later in the game, isn't necessarily going to be there. That's why I always say you got to be proactive as early as you possibly can, so you could dictate as much of the game as you can. And that way, when Storm Surge hits, you still have that flexibility, the adaptability, so you can kind of make the choices that you want to make, just like Axe Force and Clownski here.
Almost 600 above. That must be a lot of weight off their shoulders. Looking at the duos still up. Merstash, Malabuka looking healthy. But while some duos are healthy, others are put into tight situations here. As Kovacs gonna use a nice little crash pad rotate. Should be able to make it into the edge of zone quite safely, but I might have spoken too soon as everybody else had a similar idea. Now forced to kind of take a step back, refocus up, and then rotate back in.
Yeah, it's unfortunate they didn't have the Flowberry Fizz to combine with that crash pad. They definitely would have made it in zone, because now if you look at the edge of the map, everybody is stacked up. They're going to have to use a lot of resources to make it there, especially with players targeting and focusing that direction, making it harder and harder for any survival possibility. Same as Cringe. He's backside of zone, though, so it's a much tougher situation for him as he finally goes down. Stormy's going to get credit for that knock, and they quickly try to move in towards where they got that knock to try to clean up as much of that loot as possible. Their loadout looks okay at best, so you can see why they're trying to jump to try to grab that loot.
I didn't quite see where the zone did end up pulling. Oof, okay, that is tough. Far west, southwest zone. A lot of these players gonna have to rotate together on this congested side, but players like Volko aren't even gonna be thinking about the rotation. Not too much HP or shield to work with. A whole duo pushing you. Now forced to play defensive. Kind of hold off until that storm starts closing.
Tarps and Oi are down on Surge. This is what I was talking about. You really don't have too much of a choice. to kind of play your game out. They're going to go ahead and make this rotation quick. Hopefully they can look towards the backside of the zone, and that's where they're going to get their damage. But you can see the number of players that need that Storm Surge damage is going to continue to increase. Now Malibu and Mustache have to watch out because Voco has now started to target them out, but with still more of a rotation to go. He's just making sure to focus on that first, get as far as he can before he looks back.
That was a great rotation. I don't think he's landed in zone yet, though. Still has more of a way to go, but the shots are coming through. He's going to use so many materials here just to make it in. 200 wood is all that's left. 55 below as well. He needs to do a bit of damage. It's all or nothing here. Going to get into the box. Do they know? Yes, they do. It's a 2v1, but Volko cannot miss a single shot. Unfortunately, he is going to go down.
Yeah. See how that fight actually started. I thought it was Stormy, his duo, that actually got the elimination. It was Vico and Flixie, and you can see why they didn't have the awareness to actually gather that loot. That was the perfect opportunity to get it. They got more match resources, able to climb up higher on that mountain, put themselves in a whole different spot, and that's where you see a simple decision, a small choice, left instead of right, and how it impacts your game.
Zone pulled northeast. You can see the only duo basically that wasn't on the congested side, I think, was Cammy and Seti there. A little closer to the middle side of the zone. They should get a lot of opportunities to take shots on these players rotating. Flixie, Vico, kind of planning out their rotation. The issue here is, depending on where you go, you're either going to land onto 20 other duos, or you're going to go very early and have all the duos land on top of you, or you can go late and try and get a bit more elevated, but then have the potential of the duos to look back and take shots at you.
I almost think it might be worth to go late, because if you see at the far right of where the zone is going to be, there's that mountain range that we just saw on the overhead map. If you time it perfectly, use the crash pad with the Flowberry Fizz, that is instant high ground, because not only does it go up towards that spot, you see there's just a whole river, a lot of water underneath that mountain, where a lot of duos will have to find some comfortability whether they like it or not.
Skavi, not a solid loadout, but a good position to hold off. Just one refresh could be all that they need. That impact frag to put them back in the game, as Vanyak's going to take out Video in the feed. Players now making their way towards zone, with just 10 seconds left until the next one appears. If it pulls towards this hill, Jacob, that is going to be dangerous for a lot of these duos down below.
Yeah, hopefully they punch their ticket, because that's going to be a roller coaster of emotions. And you see Chap, Teeny, they already have 6 eliminations. Well, there's 7. Let's keep counting. Let's go up to 8 eliminations.
Crew.
Storm Surge not a worry for them. And there goes Vico and Flixie. They waited. They timed it perfectly. They got the mountaintop that I was talking about. But now it pulls off. It pulls a little bit off that mountain. So once again, if they delay and time this one perfectly, they can maintain their position above everybody else with not expending a lot of materials on the way there.
This is actually huge for Vico and Flixie. Like you said, they're not even going to have to use too many mats to hold on to this position. They can take shots at all the duos flying through the air now. All they have to do is capitalize on this position to close it out. Make sure that those duos on second height and close to them know that they're looking down below and they are healthy. As even with 390 damage above the threshold, they do not have to worry much at all.
Yeah, the only big worry for them is exactly what you're talking about. Any duo that looks to contest them through the outside of the zone. Plus, if it goes down this mountain, it's going to be harder to connect to some other teams. Malibu and Mustache, this time around, without their mythic loot, they seem to be making and performing much better without that pressure. 300 above the damage threshold. The crash pad instantly gets shot out. One of the worries that you have to wonder about, but Malibu makes it. They reunite on the other side, and this is where I feel like champions are made. Moments like this.
Mappi, Kiiro looking to see if they can connect some shots as well, but up above, the pressure is still being applied by Flixie and his duo partner. Vanyak now Swizzy looking healthy. A lot of solid top tier duos still looking like they have a shot at it in this match.
Which I thought was going to be a blessing, but with so many of them still alive, it might be a curse. You can see he's just trying to go through unnoticed, floating through the side of the mountain. One team gets above him. That's Mappi and Kiiro, and they choose not to fight him, or at least not just yet. We'll save that on the list for later. They continue to look for opportunity after opportunity. Chap and Teeny find 2 more. They are now in double-digit eliminations. They have nothing else to do in this game other than win.
Cabby said he knocked out of the match. 10 elims as Vanyak Swizzy now. We saw them looking for it, and they've done it, claiming height once again, but you got to be careful. The battle is not over as Nebs looking to see if he can get out of this situation. Banyak Swizzy now, all they got to do is hold on.
Yeah, he had to leave Kiiro by himself. He's just trying to survive in the back of zone. He was getting attacked. Down goes Swizzy, but only for so long. He has the Nitro Splash to protect himself, and they have the position as well. But Vico, Flixie, they're waiting as well. So many opportunities, and we've seen it throughout the day yesterday as team after team after team gets the high ground. Two of them get dropped down. Champ and Teeny go all the way down low to the low ground. Hopefully they don't get stuck in the mud because they're acting quick to try to take it once more.
Looking like a Zone Wars match. There's 3 duos that want this high ground, but so far, Chapatini, they thought they had it, but it's Flixie. It's his duo back at it again, and Vico up above. 3 eliminations, looking to get 4. Can they hold on, though? Chapatini still just 1 layer down.
Yeah, they have to be careful. They have to be very, very careful, because this is where the low ground teams, we saw it in that last game, they get elim after elim, tearing apart those solos. They get all the materials, so when high ground fully comes down, they are in the driver's seat. And there goes Chapatini trying to do it again just because they got denied twice. Third time might be the charm. And Vico, Flixie, they finally go down to a layer to where it's easy to fight them, easy to contest, especially since they're out of builds.
They're not done yet, though. Vico's lost his duo partner. Flixie's down, but Vico, can he pop off? Can he make it happen? Teeny is cracked. Just 1 shotgun shot needed to connect, but he has no match. Teeny is going to be the one connecting the shots up to 4. Crash pad used. It's Axe Force. It's Clownski, but Axe Force goes down. Teeny goes down as well. Who is still alive?
It's almost looking like a 1v1. We got a couple knock players in this game. Clownski, it's actually a 2v1 with Kiiro Mappi out of nowhere. They were one of the teams that challenged for that high ground. They made that decision to disengage, give it up, say, hey, we will take it later, and we will take it by force. And now with a 2v1, they have it all but secured. Clownski trying to go up and over, land the shots, but it's just not enough. Kiiro and Mappi had the recipe for success, and they cooked a good one.
Pure chaos unfolding in the last moments of the match. There was multiple duos playing for high ground, but once again, just like we saw in the first match of the day, that last duo that played it patiently, Mappi, Kiiro, come out in the last moment. They have the player advantage in the 2v1, and all they had to do was be the cleanup crew. Couple shotgun shots, and they booked their ticket to the grand finals.
Yeah, just even a little heal, crash pad, just in case he jumped out. That crash pad from Mappi actually forced him out of the box into the air. Easy targets for them. These guys have now just qualified to the grand finals, joining 7 other teams so far.
But we're not done yet. There's still 3 matches to be played out. So we're going to head to a quick break, and then we'll be back for a lot more action. See you soon.